Hey, what is up? My name's Brent Pierce and I own Round Rock Studio, a podcast studio. And real quick, I was gonna show off this setup. We have two podcast sets. This is the one I'm gonna show off right now. There's one over there that maybe I'll do at a different time. But this is what we call the lounge. Let me turn this camera around. So this is what we call the lounge. And this is designed for kind of two people to sit and talk and have a little podcast. We can have a couch there and another chair over there. So we could accommodate, 4 to 6 people comfortably. And it's a pretty big space, so we could always widen out if we really needed to and stretch the space that way, stretch the space that way. But yeah, so for the lights up here, we are running Amaran 200Ds with 42-inch softboxes. And I always, maybe not always, but I like 92% of the time use a grid on my key lights. It's just easier to control the light. If you don't, the light is so soft and it just goes everywhere, which you kind of don't want. You want soft light, but you want to be able to control it as well. So we got those and I boomed them out on these C-stands. So the C-stands are just out of frame. And then I boomed them out because I like my key lights coming from the opposite side of the camera. But I can't put it right there because there's a lot of stuff back there. So I put it right there, and that's kind of as close as I can get. Obviously, the cinematography rule when you're shooting interviews is if you got the camera here, shooting that way, and that guy's looking here, you want the key light on this side of him. But again, I couldn't really get it all the way over here. So I at least kind of got it above him and a little bit over this shoulder. So yeah, so we're doing 2 key lights there. And for fill light, I have this little guy. There's no grid on this. This is a GVM 80 watt light. And so I took off the grid just to let this light just kind of do its thing. Yeah, and the middle camera is shooting right under it. And yeah, these chairs are from IKEA. I got them from Facebook Marketplace, which is always a good spot to find used furniture. For the rest of the furniture, these shelves were also from Facebook Marketplace, and I already had them with my previous office setup, so it just made sense to utilize them over here. So I put one over here, mirrored it on this side, and then I just use the decorations that I had. And I have a bunch of old vintage cameras and some business books and random knick-knack paddywhacks, all this stuff. Same over there. There's some vintage cameras, some fake plants. You'll notice that there are fake plants everywhere. One thing I noticed whenever I moved into this space was that I had a lot of space, but not a whole lot of stuff. It felt like I had a lot of stuff, but then when I moved in here, it felt very empty. So one thing I did was I bought a lot of fake plants. You will see behind me, there's various fake plants. And in that direction, which you can't really see because it's dark, there's a whole line of fake plants. In that podcast set, there's fake plants. So fake plants are a great way to fill a space, and it adds color, it adds a little bit of life. It's great. Buy a bunch of fake plants. That being said, I will say some of these fake plants, they just look fake. So I would definitely, I think one of my next upgrades is I'm just going to get a bunch of better looking fake plants than those. These are just kind of cheap ones that I bought initially to initially get set up, but that'll be something that I update here shortly. Also with set design, these are room dividers. And actually my grandpa built those when I was a kid. And my mom had them in her attic and she was going to sell them in the garage sale. And I said, hold on, I can take those to work and do something with them. So I put these navy blue curtains in the middle of each one, each with like a tiny little tension rod on tops and bottoms. And yeah, they serve the purpose well. I always try to hide the corners of rooms because if the viewer feels like they're looking into the corner, it just, I don't know. I just don't like the look of looking directly into a corner. So I always try to hide it with something, either a fake plant or a TV or room dividers or a combination of all of it. So it doesn't feel like you're just like, shoved into a corner having a conversation with a few lights and shelves and stuff like that. So anyways, I think that's the set decoration. This is a rug from Goodwill. It was like 30 bucks. And you can see it's a little bit dirty, but it gets the job done. And this is coffee table, again, that I already had from my previous office. And yeah, it gets the job done. And these mic arms are clamped here to the table. These are Gator framework arms. There's an integrated cable in here, which I love. And the mics that I use are Rode pod mics. So if I take off this windscreen, you'll actually see, if I can do it one-handed here, you'll actually see that this is the original Rode pod mic. I got this windscreen from the Rode PodMic USB, which I also have 2 of in my other podcast set. But I like the look of these black microphone windscreens, so I took them off those mics and popped them onto here, because I like the look of these black ones as opposed to just the silver mesh on the Rode PodMic. So that's what these are, and I like the look of these. You know, I don't see many people using these windscreens. But yeah, I like them. They're a little bit big and puffy, but that's all right. So I got 2 of those mics. The XLRs go through the arm, under the rug, and it goes that way to the console. And I will get to that in a second. The cameras that we're using are Lumix S1 and S1Hs. These are cameras that I've had for many years for video production. So I figured, you know what? Why not? Let's just use them for podcasts. They have a great image. They get the job done. That's a common theme that I continue to say, is that they get the job done. And if it gets the job done, why not use it? So anyways, you know what, let's look. There's little LEDs. There's an LED strip on the back of these shelves that I can control the color of. And there's also an LED bar back there, right? Just to add a little bit of color to that wall. Yeah, I don't know, just to add some texture and separation, because if these were closed, it would be very dark back there. It would look kind of good, but anyways, I separated them, added a little bit of color, and yeah, just add some texture there. And then these horizontal lights are Quasar 4-foot tubes. They're bicolor, so you can actually change the color of it. So I have it set to pretty warm, and it just provides a little bit of hair light for these people. Right? So if the guest is sitting there, this is just going to touch their shoulders and their hair, just add a little bit of separation from them in the background. And I think that's pretty much the set. Camera 2 sits here, and it's obviously zoomed in a little bit when we record. And then camera 1 is over there. Camera 3 is over there. I just run HDMI cables. It's a little bit messy right now. This light was just added, so I haven't tidied up that cable just yet. Also, another fun thing is that I have all of this set to a remote. It's kind of annoying having to turn everything on individually, and then sometimes you will inevitably forget to turn something on. So I bought this little remote so I can turn everything on and off with a push of a button. And that is always satisfying, I will say. Let's do it again. There we go. Good stuff. All right. So here is the console. This is where we control the audio and the video. For audio, we have a RODECaster Pro 2. This is great. This is overkill for just a 2-podcast setup. And I'm sure a lot of people are in the same boat that I'm in, where they have this, but it's, you know, all I'm doing is I have 2 mics plugged in here. And so it's great to be able to control it, and you can control the compressor, the EQ, and all that. You can even add sound effects, you know, do the whole thing. But this is definitely overkill. You can get the job done with something a whole lot smaller and cheaper. But, you know, we have the ability to add 4 mics, and then we can have somebody with a Bluetooth mic. We can have people from the internet. We can do sound effects. We can do the whole thing if we ever want to do the whole thing. Also, we have speakers over there on the shelf. So, like, if we wanted to play music, you can play music through here, and you can control it. And you can also do sound effects. Yep. So that's that. I could also talk. Hello, hello, mic check. I could talk with this little talkback mic. This is just plugged in there. I bought this on Amazon, and that's just so I can talk to them through their headphones. If they're wearing headphones, I can talk to people on the internet. If we're live streaming, I can do various things through this little mic. That's always good to have. And that just goes into channel 4, so I control it right there. The output from there goes into the switcher. This is the ATEM Mini Pro ISO, which gives us 4 inputs. So we have cameras 1, 2, and 3. We also have the computer going to camera 4, and we record to an SSD, which gets plugged in right here. And then after that, we transfer it to the computer, and we do any edits that we need to do. We add intro and outro, and then we send it to the client, or we upload it to their YouTube page. Another little tip is I have a notepad with a pen. So during the recording, if I mess up, like if I push the wrong camera, or if there's a reaction shot that I missed or something, I will note the time, and then I will write down that time so I can go back and edit it later, because I will inevitably mess something up in the edit. Very rarely have I had a 100% perfect show. Even if it is 100% perfect, I always like to add reaction shots that I missed or anything like that. So yeah, I just take a little bit of notes during the show. Anyways, yeah, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, let me know. This has definitely been a work in progress, and it still is a work in progress. When I first set it up, I just set it up with what I had, and it didn't look this good. And then after a few shows and a bunch of iterations, it got to this point. So I think it's important to always remember, like, just use what you have, and then you can always improve on that. But if you just try to start from scratch and like you're trying to go to the store and buy every single thing brand new, it's going to be a little bit daunting, and it's going to take you forever to finally pull the trigger. So I would say just right now, take an idea and use what you got and put it together, and eventually it will look pretty good. Anyways, that's it. Let me know if you have any questions. Bye.